Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto. This is chapter 15, instructions for civilized human beings. I'll read the summary. The summary of the 15th chapter is as follows. In the previous chapter, Sri Narada Muni proved the importance of the Brahmin in society. Now in this chapter, he will show the differences between different grades of Brahmins. Among the Brahmins, some are householders and are mostly attached to fruitive activities or the betterment of social conditions. Above them, however, are Brahmins who are very much attracted by austerities and penances and who retire from family life. They are known as Vanaprasthas. Other Brahmins are very much interested in studying the Vedas and explaining the purport of the Vedas to others. Such Brahmins are called brahmacharis. And still other Brahmins are interested in different types of yoga, especially in Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Such Brahmins are mostly sannyasis, members of the renounced order of life. As far as householders are concerned, they engage in different types of scriptural activities, especially in offering oblations to their forefathers and giving as charity to other Brahmins. The paraphernalia engaged in such sacrifices. Generally, the charity is given to sannyasis, Brahmins in the renounced order of life. If such a sannyasi is not available, the charity is given to Brahmin householders engaged in fruitive activities. One should not make very elaborate arrangements to perform the Shraddha ceremony of offering oblations to one's forefathers. The best process for Shraddha ceremony is to distribute Bhagavat Prasad, remnants of food that has first been offered to Krishna and to all of one's forefathers and relatives. This makes a first-class Shraddha ceremony. In the Shraddha ceremony, there is no need to offer meat or eat meat. Unnecessary killing of animals must be avoided. Those who are in the lower grades of society prefer to perform sacrifices by killing animals, but one who is advanced in knowledge must avoid such unnecessary violence. Brahmins should execute their relative duties in worshipping Lord Vishnu. Those who are advanced in knowledge of religious principles must avoid 5 kinds of irreligion, known as Vidharma, Paradharma, Dharmabhas, Upadharma, and Chaladharma. One must act according to the religious principles that suit his constitutional position. It is not that everyone must adhere to the same type of religion. A general principle is that a poor man should not unnecessarily endeavor for economic development, but one who refrains from such endeavors but who engages in devotional service is most auspicious. One who is not satisfied with the mind must fall to degradation. One must conquer lusty desires, anger, greed, fear, lamentation, illusion, fright, unnecessary talks on material subjects, violence, the 4 miseries of material existence, and the 3 material qualities. That is the objective of human life. One who has no faith in the spiritual master, who is identical with Krishna, cannot get any benefit from reading Shastra. One should never consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being, even though the members of the spiritual master's family may think of him as such. Meditation and other processes of austerity are useful only if they help in advancement towards Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if they are simply a waste of time and labor. For those who are not devotees, such meditation and austerity cause fall down. Every householder should be very careful, because even though a householder may try to conquer the senses, he becomes a victim to the association of relatives and falls down. Thus, a grihasta must become a vanaprastha or a sannyasi, live in a secluded place, and be satisfied with food gotten by begging from door to door. He must chant the Omkara mantra or Hare Krishna mantra, and in this way he will perceive transcendental bliss within himself. After taking sannyas, however, if one returns to grihastha life, he is called a vantasi, which means one who eats his own vomit. Such a person is shameless. A householder should not give up the ritualistic ceremonies, and a sannyasi should not live in a society. If a sannyasi is agitated by the senses, he is a cheater, influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. When one assumes a role in goodness by starting philanthropic and altruistic activities, such activities become impediments on the path of devotional service. The best process for advancing in devotional service is to abide by the orders of the spiritual master, for only by his direction can one conquer the senses. Unless one is completely Krishna conscious, there is a chance of falling down. Of course, in performing ritualistic ceremonies and other fruitive activities, there are also many dangers at every step. Fruitive activities have been divided into 12 portions. Because of performing fruitive activities, which are called the path of Dharma, one has to accept the cycle of birth and death. But when one takes the path of moksha or liberation, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as Archana Marga, one can get relief from the cycle of birth and death. The Vedas describe these two paths as Pitriyagya and Pitriyana and Devayana. Those who follow the paths of Pitriyana and Devayana are never bewildered, even while in the material world. A monistic philosopher who gradually develops control of the senses understands that the objective of all the different ashrams, the statuses of life, is salvation. One must live and act according to Shastras. If one who is performing the ritualistic ceremonies becomes a devotee, even if he is a grihasta, he can receive the causeless mercy of Krishna. The objective of a devotee is to return home back to Godhead. Such a devotee, even though not performing ritualistic ceremonies, advances in spiritual consciousness by the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. One may actually become successful in spiritual consciousness by being one may actually become successful in spiritual consciousness by the mercy of the devotees, or one may fall down from spiritual consciousness by being disrespectful to devotees. In this regard, Narada Muni narrated the history of how he had fallen from Gandharva kingdom, how he was born in a Shudra family, and how by serving exalted Brahmins he became the son of Lord Brahma and was reinstated in his transcendental position. After narrating all these stories, Narada Muni praised the mercy received from the Lord by the Pandavas. Maharaj Yudhisthira, after hearing from Narada, became ecstatic in love of Krishna, and then Narada Muni left that place and returned to his own place. Thus Shukadeva Goswami, having described various descendants of the daughters of Daksha, ends the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So text 1. Sri Narada Uvacha Kamanishta Dvija Kechet Taponishta Nepapare Svadaye Pravachane Kechana Gyana Yogaya Bolo Shina Dhruvacha Papaye Savane Nichinatmane Kilinapayo Chit Haponistana Yogaya Shina Dhruvacha Kamanishta Dvija Kechet Kamonishta Napapale Swadayena Pravichane Kechana Gyana Yoga Yo Sri Narada Vacha. Narada Muni said, Kamanishta, attached to realistic ceremonies according to one's social status as a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Dvija, the twice born, especially the Brahmins. Kechit, some. Tapanishta, very much attached to austerities and penances. Nirpa, O king, apare, others svadaye, in studying Vedic literature, anye, others pravachane, delivering speeches on Vedic literature, kechana, some, jnana yoga yo, in culturing knowledge and practicing bhakti yoga. Translation. Narada Muni continued, my dear king, some Brahmins are very much attached to fruitive activities, some are attached to austerities and penances, and still others study the Vedic literature, whereas some, although very few, cultivate knowledge and practice different yogas, especially bhakti yoga. So I'll read the next one. Jnana nishtaya devani kavyan yanchatam ichita devichad tad abhaveshad itarebhyo yatahata. A person desiring liberation for his forefathers or himself should give charity to a Brahmin who adheres to impersonal monism, jnana nishta. In the absence of such an advanced Brahmin, charity must be given to a Brahmin addicted to fruitive activities, karma kanda. But by Srila Prabhupada ki jai, there are two processes by which to get free from material bondage. One involves jnana kanda and karma kanda, and the other involves upasana kanda. Vaishnavas never want to merge into the existence of the Supreme. Rather, they want to be everlastingly servants of the Lord, to render loving service unto Him. In this verse, the words anancham ichita refer to persons who desire to achieve liberation from material bondage and merge into the existence of the Lord. Devotees, however, whose objective is to associate personally with the Lord, have no desire to accept the activities of karma kanda or jnana kanda, for pure devotional services above both karma kanda and jnana kanda. Anyabilasita sunyam jnana kamaja amritam. In pure devotional service, there is not even a pinch of jnana or karma. Consequently, when Vaishnavas distribute charity, they do not need to find a Brahmin performing the activities of jnana kanda or karma kanda. The best example in this regard is provided by Advaita Goswami, who, after performing the Shraddha ceremony for his father, offered charity to Haridas Thakur, although it was known to everyone that Haridas Thakur was born in a Mohammedan family, not a Brahmin family, and was not interested in the activities of jnana kanda or karma kanda. Charity, therefore, should be given to first-class transcendentalists as the devotee, because the Shastra recommend muktanam apisiddhanam narayana parayana sulabha prasanatma koti shapi mahamuni. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Bhagavatam 6:14-5. A Vaishnava is in a high position than a jnani, and therefore Advaitacharya selected Haridas Thakur to be the person to accept his charity. The Supreme Lord also says, Name bhaktas chito vedi, mad bhaktas sapachapriya, tasmai devam tato grayam, sacha pujo yata yayam. Even though a person is a very learned scholar of the Sanskrit Vedic literatures, he is not accepted as my devotee unless he is in pure devotional service. However, even though a person is born in a family of dog eaters, he is very dear to me if he is a pure devotee who has no motive to enjoy fruitive activity or mental speculation. Indeed, all respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. Such devotees are worshipable as I am. Hari Bhaktivilas. Therefore, even if not born in a Brahmin family, a devotee, because of his devotion to the Lord, is above all kinds of Brahmins, whether they be karma kandis or jnana kandis. In this regard, it may be mentioned that Brahmins in Vrindavan who are karma kandis and jnana kandis sometimes decline to accept invitations to our temple, because our temple is known as the Anjaret temple, or the Anglican temple. But in accordance with the evidence given in the Shastras and the example set by Advaitacharya, we give prasad to devotees regardless of whether they've come from India Europe or America. It is the conclusion of the Shastras that instead of feeding many Jnana Kandi or Kama Kandi Brahmins, it is better to feed a pure Vaishnav, regardless of where he comes from. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Apichat, this is Bhagavad Gita 9:30. Apichat sudaracharo bhajati mamananyabhak sada eva samantavya samyag vishvashito hisa. You know the translation, Jayananda? You can see it, right? Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he's engaged in devotional service, he is considered saintly because he is properly situated. Thus, it doesn't matter whether a devotee comes from a Brahmin family or a non-Brahmin family. If he is fully devoted to Krishna, he is a sadhu. Om Jnana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Melitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayam Dadati Swabhadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikapatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So a lot of reading going on now. So we're going through the cantos. Eventually we'll come to the 10th canto, Krishna's smiling face. See how much preparation before we come to that stage, understanding how we should be leading an ideal life, how we should be following the spiritual master, worshipping the devotees. Drastai Swabhava Janatiya Bapasasta Doshana Prakritata Mihabhakta Janachipaji Ganganga Samna Kalabudba Defena Pankya Brahmadavatam Abhagachati Niradamai. So this is, Rupa Goswami is also taking us through the condensed version of the Bhagavatam by showing us how to respect devotees, how to respect everybody, and how to distinguish the status of the devotee. Krishnati, Yajagirita Manashadareta, Dikshasti Chepanati Bhajam Pijam Shama Isham, Shushaya Bhajana Vigana Mananyamanya, Nandadi Sunyahedam, Ipsiksangalabja. So the devotee has to become proficient in how to associate with devotees. Some devotees they're chanting, so that's fine. So we can offer our respects in the mind to them. Some devotees, they're initiated by a bona fide spiritual master in the sampradaya that we're in, and they're fully engaged in worshipping the deity. So those devotees we offer dandavats to. And then those devotees whose hearts are completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others, those ones we especially want to take shelter of, reveal our heart and mind, and get direction and instruction from. So Rupa Goswami is showing us how to navigate through the society of devotees, and there'll be all types of devotees of all shapes and sizes and all different levels of faith. So we want to not offend anybody, everybody respect, but not everybody the same amount of respect. For some, we're not interested in their opinions or their philosophy, if it's not aligned with the philosophy of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. So we can show them respect, but we should keep a healthy distance from them. And Shiv Ramaj in Shrita Bhakti Chintamani, he says, if we keep good fences, then that makes good neighbors. And generally we've experienced in the past that institutionally it doesn't really work, that you have different camps mixing, because the tendency is for those that are from different camps to preach the glories of their own Guru Maharaj and their own take on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and maybe divert people away from following in the ISKCON Sampradaya. So all respect and Vanchikalpa, but better that we keep a healthy distance, and they can at times maybe attend some of our functions, maybe at times we can attend some of theirs, but for our general day-to-day goings on, then we don't allow new people that are coming up in Krishna consciousness to take their association or hear their opinion or instruction. So Nectar of Instruction gives a condensed version and then eventually brings us up into the high levels of appreciating rasa and Radhakund and Ashtakaliya Leela. This comes later. And first of all, we go step by step. So Bhagavatam is laying out in the 7th canto now how to be a civilized human being. So they once asked Gandhi, what do you think of Western civilization? And he said, I think it would be a good idea. Meaning that they haven't got any. So we live in it's a very meager grasp of any civilization that we have right now. And for a lot of people, just becoming aware that we should refrain from illicit sex, intoxication, eating, meat, and gambling is like a major breakthrough. It should be being taught in all the schools and the kids trained accordingly. And even then, it's difficult to resist the temptations. But quite the opposite, they're encouraging the kids to explore taboo areas of sexuality. And I was in a place yesterday, right at the very end of the day actually, and they do a CBD, a couple of really nice guys. Actually, a very mystical thing happened yesterday as well. This is, I have to share this with the devotees. So I'd been going to all these different spots, and there's no shops there practically, just one or two, and the rest of them either closed down or there wasn't many shops in the first place. And so it wasn't very good. So I wasn't doing very well at all, and I had just an hour left in the day. So okay, and just to kind of settle my mind, I started singing Shong Sharadava Nalalida Loka. You like Srila Prabhupada. And then I switched on the, and this is really unbelievable. I switched on the player in the car, trying to get to the next spot. And lo and behold, now this is far out itself, but then after that was even more fun. So, Shong Sharadava, Srila Prabhupada starts singing, I was thinking, that's funny, because I'd just been listening to Radio Ram, and then there was a track before that, and so then I reversed back because I thought I'd be listening to Srila Prabhupada singing again, and then I go listening to Radio Ram. But somehow I missed it. As if you can tell, I'm aware that you're struggling. So it was like an immediate confirmation that Prabhupada is fully conscious of all the devotees who are trying to spread his movement, his information. But I guess it was interesting. We have to learn all these instructions for being civilized human beings. Just to keep the smarter Brahmins. Something like the way. but it must be based upon receiving the mercy of the spiritual master. And more specifically, it must be based upon receiving the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. We can say spiritual master, spiritual master, spiritual master, and there are so many spiritual masters. And those spiritual masters will be telling you all the time, spiritual master, spiritual master, spiritual master. But it's actually not spiritual master, it's Srila Prabhupada. It's by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that we have spiritual masters, that we have spiritual life. If Srila Prabhupada hadn't come, we'd have had a few Hindu temples, and nobody would have, they'd already, when Srila Prabhupada was asking for help, they'd said it was ridiculous what he was asking for, and that it was foolish to even attempt, and they were discouraging Srila Prabhupada. So if Srila Prabhupada hadn't come, then none of his godbrothers would have come across. The ones that had come had failed miserably, so it would be just an foregone conclusion. Sannyasi shouldn't travel over an ocean, just stay in your little mat. So Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master. And he came over to show us what a spiritual master is, what his spiritual practices are, what the Bhagavatam is, what the holy name is. So, although we say spiritual master, it's really Srila Prabhupada. And then the spiritual masters that come after him, they're as bona fide as they are able to connect you to Srila Prabhupada and align with Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And the more bogus, the more they step out of that. Do you have a question, Jayananda? No. Do you think that's fanatical? Founder Acharya is, it's an interesting term. Founder Acharya is, our founder Acharya is Srila Prabhupada for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So founder Acharya is, he's one that he's able to set up a covenant with Krishna. 4 regular principles, not 3 regular principles, 16 rounds, not 4 rounds. And we were reading, interesting point came up yesterday in Harinam Chintamani that we were reading in a Japa Sangha group. Do you remember what it was, Jayananda? About the... Yeah, do you remember the word used? Craving. But then, and this statement must have come from Haridas Thakur. I'll repeat the statement which will change your life forever. Shishi Konnitai Mai Pashashiki Jai. He says that Krishna Prema is achieved not by chanting 16 rounds a day, but by something else. Of course, if you're craving it, then you would be doing that. Incessant. Anyone want to look up that word? Incessant. Incessant chanting. By incessant chanting, then one can achieve Krishna Prema. So that's 16 rounds is just a warm-up, and then throughout the day you have to be chanting all the time, whatever you're doing, chanting. And then that incessant chanting, that then gives you access to getting the mercy. 16 rounds doesn't allow you the full access to the full mercy. Kirtaniya Sadahari has to be incessant chanting. So that's what's required in Kali Yuga, incessant chanting. All the time. So if you see somebody and they're not chanting, you can go over and say, Prabhu, you're spacing out, you should be chanting. You're supposed to be chanting. Why are you not chanting? Oh, I'm just inspecting in clouds. I'll be with you in a minute. Cloud inspector. So no gaps, always chanting. That's how we get access to the mercy. So we have all these different instructions that are there. Then Rupa Goswami, he condensed the instructions, the nectar of instruction. And then Srila Prabhupada took Rupa Goswami, and as the founder Acharya, he fashioned a program, a morning program, and a system of spreading Krishna consciousness, Ratha Yatra, Prashadam, books, Harinam. And this, so many people, every single day now on the planet, so many people are getting Mahapunya, which means they guarantee the human form of life in the next life. Every day, how many? How many see Harinam, get a book? Hundreds and thousands of people every day. So that just keeps accumulating Mahapunya, Mahapunya. So many. What percentage of the population now are taking birth as humans in the next life? And then that helps them to evolve rather than lose the human form of life, drop down into an animal species, go back around, then take another human body. So they're able to circumvent all those intermediary stages, come back as a human again in the next life, and possibly start out on the auspicious journey. So Srila Prabhupada said the ISKCON society is a branch of the Chaitanya tree. The Chaitanya tree is getting bigger and stronger every day. As the Vrindavan Dham will recede, as Kali Yuga progresses, till eventually there'll be no Raj, no dust, no Govardhan, and no Jamuna. Will recede back into the apricot. But Mayapur Dham, every day of Kali Yuga, as it progresses, Mayapur Dham will become stronger and more powerful and more prominent and encompass more people. The holy name is coming from Mayapur and then spreading throughout the entire universe. Any questions or comments? Yes, Rainas Prabhu.
Thank you for your question, Hare Krishna. I heard from Kasi yesterday that Vrindavan Dham is not different from Mayapur Dham. Is that true?
Yeah, the only difference is that as it recedes, it goes more into Mayapur. As Kali Yuga progresses, eventually there'll be no Govardhan hill. Every day it goes down by a mustard seed. Even a few years ago, the devotees say when they first came into the movement, when Prabhupada was still there, Govardhan hill was a lot higher. So it's coming down quite fast. You've been to Vrindavan and Mayapur? Oh yeah. When you go to Vrindavan and Mayapur, you'll see that although they're non-different, Vrindavan is more intense. Mayapur is a land of mercy, and you're very much accepted for what you are in Mayapur. In Vrindavan, it's like being turned inside out and examined under a microscope. You'll know when you go. Okay for 2 or 3 weeks, but then after that, when you go to the Dham, if you've been performing austerities of preaching and spreading Krishna consciousness, then the Dham reciprocate is very pleased that you've done this. So you have nice realizations, nice chanting, everything's very nice. Then after 3 or 4 weeks, it starts to wear thin. Then you have to go back again and accumulate more pious credits, more sukriti, and then the Dham will again reciprocate. If you outstay your welcome in the Dham, then your vision can become mundane, and then you can make offenses. So it's actually quite a big test for a devotee to be able to go to the holy Dham and then come back and be okay. I've seen with younger devotees, they go to the holy Dham and they're never quite the same when they come back, They've made some offense, or they've become attracted to the idea that this can be an easy thing to do. You just have to hang around in the Dham, not follow anything very strictly. And if I just stay here, then I'll go back to Godhead. But that's up to Krishna. There was one Indian man like that, and he'd led a sinful life, and then he thought, well, I'll just go to the Dham, I'll retire there, and then I can go back to Godhead. Don't have to bother trying to lead a pious life. So he went, and he had some heart attack, and they had to rush him to hospital. And the hospital was outside the holy Dham, somewhere in Delhi. So as soon as the vehicle went outside of the Dham, he died. So you can't. Any other questions?
Stay there. stay there.
If you go to Vrindavan.
No, as you said just now, if you have some issues, when you pass the body, it's better to stay there.
Yeah. It's better to stay there. Yeah, Prabhupada, he could have left his body anyway, but still, he wanted to go back to Vrindavan and leave his body there. As he left his body, he said, Hare Krishna. That's how he left his body. So he showed us the perfect way to do it. So Vrindavan or Mayapur, one of the two. Or Jagannath Puri. And Navaraji Mahima by Sri Ramaraj, he says, makes the point there that here in Scotland, then the Dham will manifest, Vrindavan Dham from Shrimati Vrindadevi and Mayapur Dham from Kodinitai Mayapur Shashi. And if the standards go down, then the Dham recedes. So we're living in a holy place. If we're doing our services nicely and conscientiously and keeping our places that we live in clean, then the Dham can manifest more. And deities are looked after nicely. Then we're living in the holy Dham. Yeah. Yeah, Mayapur, yeah. They'll become very prominent. Vrindavan's building up as well. There's a lot of interest, a lot of activity. So I think it would be hard not to want to go to Vrindavan. I mean, Lord Chaitanya, he asked the Goswamis to excavate all the sacred places in Vrindavan, knowing that in the future devotees would be coming across these places for purification. So as long as ISKCON is here, then Vrindavan will always be an important place for the devotees to visit, as well as Mayapur. And Jagannath Puri. So have you been to that? Yeah, you've been. And did you go to Mayapur? Did you see the difference? When Srila Prabhupada found out that some of the householders were falling down, he said, go to Mayapur. Don't do this in Krishna's backyard. Lord Chaitanya is all merciful, all accommodating. But then also, if you try to take advantage of Lord Chaitanya's kindness, then that can also backfire badly on you as well. We just have to sincerely try, and then Krishna will be merciful, Lord Chaitanya will be merciful. There's a song in the Nityananda Ashtakam by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and the fifth one, Yati's song. And Lord Nityananda, if you just engage, he'll take care of you, he'll personally take you back if you engage in Harinam Sankirtan. So by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, Radha Krishna is accessible, Vrindavan is accessible. They say that you can't buy a ticket to Vrindavan, so you could go there, but you may not actually be there, you may just be on the external surface of Vrindavan. You need mercy to actually enter into Vrindavan. And Gandaki was telling some nice stories about Radharaman the other day. So Radharaman's when you go in to see him, he feels very present, very alive. Have you any ideas? Any suggestions? Any light to your question you would like to cast on it?
Like in the translation, it says impersonal monism, and somewhere in the description of purport also monism. But I've come across this term or word, but I feel confused what it means. Like a monastic life or religious life in a way, maybe.
Have you got the? Is it on Google now? Google it. Monist. Is it the same as monastery? Is monk an abbreviation of a monastic person? What do you think? One? Does one come from one?
It says the theory or doctrine that denies the existence of distinction of duality. No sphere such as between matter and mind, or God and the world.
Yeah. We're going to really specifically sort out how to define it, but there we go. So one who doesn't recognize distinction, but sees that, oh, that's illusion, everything is one. Okay, Jai. So I'll finish with that then. Just interesting to bear in mind what a build-up it is before we get into the rasas that are there in the 10th canto. Build-up. Life is. Contemplate that God surpasses. Then we can go into it. Rather than well, I don't really want to get into all the philosophy. I just want to get into the nectar. Just want the nectar, Prabhu. Just want to get into the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, and especially the really intimate ones. Not so interested in Krishna killing the demons. More interested in the really confidential ones, because that means they'll be more elevated. ISKCON Guru in the key. Srila Prabhupada key.
Grace Adhoksaja Krishna Prabhu ki.